You know, pride cometh before a fall. Now, you'd think somebody who holds up logic and reason high above all other values would be able to understand a concept that simple. Well, remember, kids, this is planet Earth, the most treacherous hive of scum and villainy outside of the Mos Eisley Cantina. You're not going to be allowed valid response to your criticisms against the individual, their argument, and their peddled philosophy. What you are allowed is a response that boils everything down into so little of worth and merit that your arguments are taken so far out of context that they don't even begin to address any of the criticisms that you, your constituents, and other detractors have made in the least. And that's what we're going to take a look at today. 12 minutes worth of this. 10 years of doing these kind of responses to various morons on YouTube, I can't really say that I'm surprised in the least, because I'm not. Because it always winds up exactly the same each and every time. Always. Now, before we get right into it, a couple things I need to let you guys know. Yesterday, you might have noticed that I did a video announcing a live stream that was occurring on my Facebook fan page. I am no longer allowed to do live streams on this particular channel. That's why I had to do a live stream there. I was actually planning on live streaming a response to this video on this channel when I found out that a strike had been placed against my channel in regards to my video about the shooting that occurred at YouTube headquarters. The strike's criteria was based on graphic violence, even though there was neither graphic content nor violent content present in the video I made. I was just talking on a general subject. Yes, the subject might have been graphic, but that, in my opinion, is not enough to warrant a community strike against a channel. However, there's nothing I can do. The channel strike is there. I am banned from being able to do live streams on this channel until August, and it sucks. Yes, I could try and appeal the strike, but trying to deal with the draconian powers that be at YouTube is a near impossible and daunting task that I don't want to undertake the arduous amount of bullshit in trying to attempt, so I'm just going to forego it and deal with the strike. I may make another channel specifically for live streams to try and circumvent this. However, that's kind of floating in the air right now. I may do it, I may not do it. So if I decide to, obviously I will make a video and then post on my Twitter and my Facebook fan page and other social media that I inhabit announcing this to you guys. But until then, well, I don't know. So with that out of the way, here's the proper long-form video response to Kool-Aid Cults and Eyebrows and out-of-context straw-manning. Here we go.
Social media reveals how uncreative and unimaginative so many people are.
I find that right off the bat to be probably the most bullshit statement in this video. Social media platforms have a plethora of individuals of varying creative traits inhabiting them all over. Artists, musicians, photographers, people that do sort of creative traveling blogs. I mean, people can find creativity, originality, and individuality in so many different facets of just life experience itself. And to provide a platform for people to share this with others, social media is a flourishing garden of this sort of thing. So I'm not going to really agree with you there, especially considering that you need social media to exist in order to foist your ideas upon the masses. If it weren't for that, you wouldn't utilize social media platforms in order to get this message across, would you? I don't think you would.
And how unaware they are that every thought that they've ever had has already been thought, and everything which they think is new and clever is actually old, stale, and boring, and been done countless times before.
And how pompous of you to try to exclude yourself from that. You are just one of 8 billion individual people on this planet, and I'm pretty sure that you've had a thought or two that was thought already by somebody else. I mean, your entire Hyperionism philosophy, for example, is cribbed almost directly from Pythagorean Illuminism, and you've even said that yourself. So, is that originality? I wouldn't think so. Is that individuality? Not really. So I'm not going to take it directly too harshly that somebody's going to consider my version of a response or retort is unoriginal from somebody whose entire philosophy that I'm responding and retorting to is unoriginal in and of itself. It's kind of the pot calling the kettle black.
In the UK, there was a comedian on a popular TV sitcom whose catchphrase was an extremely exasperated, "I don't believe it." In real life, whenever members of the public encountered him, they couldn't help but saying, "I don't believe it." Each person that did it thought that they were being very clever and amusing.
Is this all this video is really going to be about? And by the way, yes, it is, because I watched it yesterday on a live stream response. But I mean, just colloquially, is it? Of course. You know, the funny thing is here, you're already admitting 42 seconds into the video without having to say it that you're not even going to bother considering any of the criticisms that people have brought you. So be prepared to have nothing addressed, people.
But from the actor's perspective, having literally heard the same thing thousands of times from thousands of different people, it was the most tiresome and boring thing possible that you could say to him, and guaranteed to piss him off.
Well, considering that example is only 1% valid here, if you've heard people give you the same criticisms that myself and others have given you in regards to your philosophy thousands of times, hadn't you ever once in your life bothered to try to make a decent attempt at listening to it in any way, shape, or form? Didn't you think that maybe you should have taken some consideration into the things people were saying? At all? You can't just pound your head into the wall, wonder why it hurts, without having to consider maybe it's the fact that I'm pounding my head into the wall that's causing my head to hurt. It might not just be your detractors trying to make you pissed off and trying to give you a bad day. It might be that you're full of shit and that you're wrong, and that you don't actually understand science, philosophy, or mathematics the way you think you do. It's interesting that I can make this point because he's going to take this, which is a way of trying to subtly describe the Dunning-Kruger effect, and flip it around. So that's pointed at people like myself. You know, denial is not just a river in Egypt.
Any intelligent person would be able to work out that the very worst thing you could say to this man, if you wanted him to like you, was his TV catchphrase.
I don't want you to like me because I highly doubt that there's any way possible someone like you and someone like me could ever get along in person.
Sadly, neutral humans are so unintelligent and robotic, they can't help themselves, and so they just blurt it out anyway.
A guy who's copying his look from just about every single early 2000s goth look that I've ever heard of is going to say that whatever the fuck neutral humans are robotic and devoid of individuality. Dude, do you know how many times people shit on goth people for looking exactly the same as one another? South Park has made the joke endless times with their little trio of goth kids in their show. I'm sure you've heard that. This is just so insane and contradictory and hypocritical. It's devoid of any self-awareness. So to call other people unoriginal while looking rather unoriginal yourself, it doesn't, there's no weight to what you're saying at that point. If this was presented in any other form of presentation, then there'd be weight to it, but right now there's nothing.
Same thing happens every day on my Facebook page. How many times have people posted comments like, he has no eyebrows, he looks like a fag, he wears makeup, he looks like whatever character from whatever movie.
You know, if that was just the argumentation at all, if that was it, you'd have a point. The problem is, there's a little more to it than that. Sorry. Keep in mind, by the way, that his intro video right here, this little square BDSM logo thing going on, he puts in big words, the cult of reason, at the bottom now. Keep that noted in the back of your head.
The eyebrows fallacy goes like this. You have no eyebrows. Therefore, you are a liar and you're wrong.
It's a little hard to take you seriously as a philosopher when the first actual point in your video you're trying to make is of the most utmost intellectual dishonesty. I mess around on you for not having eyebrows because I think people look goofy when they don't have any eyebrows because they're such a common facial feature. So to see somebody look all exasperated in their videos when they have this big Neanderthal Promethean forehead ridge popping out at me, accentuated by their bright forward lighting, it looks ridiculous. Especially when this person is trying to attempt to get me to take them seriously and what it is they're talking about philosophically or scientifically. You know, it comes to a point where I want to make a t-shirt with my someguy827 logo on the back. In the front of the t-shirt, I want to put in big fucking letters, context clues. And the reason I want to do that is it's just galling to me how many people that I respond to have no idea at all what context clues are. They just take everything at face value.
Are untrustworthy. After all, who could possibly believe anyone without eyebrows? To be devoid of eyebrows is ipso facto to be devoid of any capacity to tell the truth.
I don't know what ipso facto means, nor do I give the first, second, or third fucking shits. I just think it's hilarious that you're willing to focus only on the fact I say you look like a goofball for not having eyebrows and ignore everything else. Get used to it. It's the name of the game with this video.
How insane are these people? What does makeup, sexual orientation, gender, or the lack of eyebrows have to do with the truth content of what someone is saying?
The truth content. So is there some sort of statistically comparable percentage-based index of truth that anyone's video is supposed to adhere to? So if you were to put it like on some kind of bizarre graph chart, you'd be able to see where the percentage of truth content lies? Or is that just another attempt for you to sound more knowledgeable than everybody around you? Because that just sounds ridiculous. If that were the only argumentation that you were faced with in dissent of your philosophy, in detraction to it, you'd have a point, as I've already stated. The problem here is that you're just strawmanning like crazy. You're ignoring the fact that a lot of the criticisms people direct at you have more to do with what you might be utilizing this philosophy as a vehicle to accomplish. Now, he actually addresses a little bit of this in a little bit, but then he just misdirects and distracts and deflects with more of this strawmanning bullshit. I make fun of the way you look because I just think you look fucking goofy. Hell, when you were on Freak Show, you looked even worse. So it's almost like your wardrobe or stylist or whatever got an upgrade and tried to stop making you look like some kind of fucking scarecrow that decided to go on a Freak Show television show. And as I said, if that were the extent of the argumentation here, you'd have a point. But since it's not, this is just pointless whining, an appeal to some authority that's not even existent. Try to respond to extant things, not try to victimize yourself for the sake of your audience. It's pathetic.
When Pontius Pilate asked Jesus Christ, "What is truth?"
Jesus Christ. Indeed. Okay, give me a Bible lesson. You know, I find it funny that for a lot of the people over the years I've responded to that are super anti-religion, I've learned more about religion from people that hate religion than I ever did when I was actually a functioning member of the Lutheran Church for like 20 years of my damn life. Ironic, isn't it? The people that whine about religion, especially Christianity the most, in negativity and dissent, seem to be the most knowledgeable about it. Why is that? You'd figure they'd say, fuck it, I don't want to believe in a God and leave it at that. But no, every single time they open their mouth about it, they want to give you a fucking sermon.
He got no answer. The answer that Jesus ought to have given, according to the proponents of the eyebrows fallacy, was, truth is being possessed of eyebrows.
You know what? I don't think Jesus would have given a shit to listen to some weirdo that's going to try to combat him in his philosophies. You're another one of these people that actually would be willing to concede that Christ was the actual divine Son of God, where in reality he more than likely was just a traveling hippie, of his time anyway, the equivalents, with a lot of interesting things to say, that was violently and lethally persecuted, like everyone of his time, with something interesting to say, by an insane quasi-proto-governance, and then utilized religion in general as a way to scare the shit out of the masses into acting in line. So, rule of law through fear of God. What this has to do with anything, I don't know. But hey, the video contains it, so I guess it's important.
The mark of the false prophet is to be shorn of eyebrows. Verily, eyebrows determine the truth. The better your eyebrows and the more firmly attached they are, the more truthful you are.
Well, they keep the sweat out of my eyes whenever I have to do a gig drumming for a band. The last thing I need is my eyes burned out of my skull by salty sweat.
The Antichrist will reveal his demonic nature to all by flaunting his shameless lack of eyebrows.
If he's in a Giallo movie.
One of the comments I get all the time is, "Keep selling the Kool-Aid," which is a reference to Jim Jones.
No. It's almost like the people who've said that to you were totally aware of that, and totally were aware of what happened in the Jonestown Massacre, and we actually weighed up whether or not we wanted to compare the stupidity of a philosophy that wants to utilize a lot of the tactics that an idiot like Jim Jones used to create an entire congregation of people of singular mind, to just say, you know what? This is as ridiculous as this is. So tell me how exactly I was unaware of this, and give me a lesson on who Jim Jones was and what Guyana was all about,
Wow, so imaginative. How smart you must be to come up with that. The world bows to your superior intellect.
I'm glad it bows to my superior intellect. At the end of the day, I don't really give a shit if people do or don't. I have a, moderate 22,000 subscribers on YouTube, and if people are going to follow my content, I ask that they don't do so idolatrously. I don't like being just some figure to people. If they like what I say, that's fine. If they don't like what I say but watch because they think I have an interesting perspective, that's fine. But unfortunately, I'm not the one that tries to be so visibly in love with himself that he messianically idolatrizes his own self in the form of trying to be the arbiter of some weird hidden secret knowledge about how the universe functions, so much so that he restricts the knowledge through a paywall and by releasing a ridiculous Book of Shadows type book once a month on a special time of the month, because that's totally not a hype and entertainment shock value right there. I mean, I don't know, out of the two of us, it just seems to me that you're the one that wants people to bow down to your superior intellect more. I've never said I'm smarter than anybody else. I'm not even as smart as I could be. But I know that I am knowledgeable in what I am knowledgeable about, and I know how to spot a bullshitter from a mile away.
Wouldn't it be great if these trolls could genuinely be clever and say something funny and inventive, something new and creative?
I know, right? Wouldn't it be nice if YouTube trolls had any game whatsoever? Could they try something new? Possibly? I don't think that'll happen. I think pigs will be able to create some sort of anti-gravitational device to be able to fly under their own power before that shit'll happen. I've only been waiting a decade.
Well, there's no danger of that. Without fail, it's the same old tired shit. They seem wholly unaware that what they've posted has been posted countless times before.
Okay, but that still doesn't go into addressing any of the criticisms that people make against you and Hyperionism and what you're utilizing the philosophy for as a vehicle to accomplish something. In fact, you're 3 minutes into your video. Now, we're 21 minutes into this video, but in the length of the video I'm responding to, we're 3 minutes in, and nothing. You haven't responded to people calling you out for not even showing the math that gets you to the conclusions that you come to. You're not even addressing why you think it's all right to create this division between persons of authority in the lives of some of the younger people that blindly ascribe to your philosophy. You know, in a moment, he's going to try to say that people like myself are sufferers of the Dunning-Kruger effect or Dunning-Kruger syndrome, where they like to think they're smarter than they are. And I think that's an irony, and I'll just address it briefly, coming from somebody that's never showed any of his credentials, never showed where did you go to school, what is your educational background, what is your functioning knowledge of science, physics, mathematics, philosophy, quantum engineering. You don't get any of that, which I think would be necessary in being able to ascribe any credibility to anything you've said at all. But, 3 minutes in, none of it. None of it. And you'll never get any of it either. One bit.
And it makes them look totally boring and brain dead. It's as though each new Kool-Aid dunce that comes along, each new global village idiot, thinks that they're the very first person to mention Kool-Aid. And
I didn't ever make that assumption at all. In fact, that kind of commentation has been going on in your social media probably ever since it surfaced. I mean, but continue.
that everyone should be in awe of their brilliance and wit. Now the Kool-Aid...
Yeah, that's what I based my channel on for over a decade. How witty can I be? Oh, my God.
fallacy goes like this.
Oh, shit.
I don't like you or your opinions because they disagree with mine. So I'm going to label you a cultist. Now that we've established that you're a cultist, because I just told you.
I label you a cultist because the intro video to your videos literally calls this organization the Cult of Reason. And you yourself have actually utilized that title to describe your organization. What the fuck else am I supposed to call you? What other argumentation am I supposed to bring to the table? If this isn't peak stupidity that I'm looking at right here, peak self-unawareness, I don't know what the fuck is. But I'll tell you, it is fucking hilarious. I mean, you call this organization a cult, and now you're mad for people comparing it to another cult, and it's not even so much that, oh, your opinions disagree from mine, therefore I don't like them. That's not even the case. I don't like the fact that I see somebody clearly taking advantage of other people who aren't as knowledgeable on the subjects your philosophy espouses as you claim to be, or as other people are. So for people that are on the outside, hearing somebody dictate them a whole bunch of word salad on the subjects of quantum theory, string theory, the nature of life itself, it sounds to them like you really know what you're talking about, but it sounds to people who are actually educated about these subjects like a big mishmash of bullshit that's so nonsensical and stupid that it makes us wonder what your underlying motivations are. You're not pushing this philosophy out there for educated people, quite clearly, because educated people are, for the most part, the ones that are facing you any sort of dissent. It's the uneducated people that are swallowed up into this, that you're priding as your supporters, as your followers. That doesn't even get addressed in this video once. Ironic, isn't it?
So, then you're equivalent to the cult leader, Jim Jones. Jim Jones presided over mass suicide in the jungle. Since we've established that
Jim Jones took a congregation of people who were also seeking answers and seeking truth, while also trying to evade a whole lot of taxes, let's be honest. Actually, a common misconception is that Guyana was all about religion. 50-50 between religion and tax exemption. So really he was trying to, utilize religion as a vehicle to get people in to be okay to build a compound with him in a means to rip the government off so he didn't have to pay federal income taxes. But let's not get into the, semantics of Jonestown right now. What bare bones argument is I'm trying to make here is that he took a bunch of people that could have actualized themselves much better in their lives, but were still seeking some truth in something. And by taking advantage of these people, he got them wrapped up into something that ultimately had a direct and serious, terrible impact on their lives. They died. Okay? Everybody fucking died. They were feeding that poisoned Kool-Aid to people that changed their mind at the last moment, didn't want to do it. I see that kind of disintegration happen every so often in some of the groups about this guy and his philosophy that exists on varying social media platforms, Facebook, and there are others out there. And it's really a lynch mob mentality when somebody brings some contradictory ideas to the table, some dissenting ideas to the table, where they go, look, there's something wrong with this guy here because we're not really getting any answers out of it no matter how much money we put down. So what is that met with? Well, that's met with hostility. That's met with, okay, well, guess what? Get the fuck out. Which is very typical of people who are being indoctrinated into a cult-like mindset. How is then the comparison between something such as Jonestown or yourself to somebody like Jim Jones based on a lot of your own statements and based on the actions of people that are involved in your groups invalid? I would say at that point, based on these varying things that I have observed myself too, because it's not like people can't make varying social media entities that, you make up just for the purposes of infiltrating groups like these just to see what the hell goes on. It's totally impossible. You don't do that, right? Well, I do it every time I see somebody like this because I get curious. I like to know how things work on the inside. It's not like through observation did I come to these conclusions. No. Maybe that's why he doesn't like the scientific method. It's all about observation. It's all about experimentation. And through the experiment of observation, I came to the conclusions that I came to. Instead of what you're trying to assume, I just pulled them out of my ass. How fair of you. You must be wonderful in a debate.
you're equivalent to Jim Jones because I've just told you so, and I'm always right. You are therefore
pompous indeed. Pompous pilot, would be a better name for this guy.
For someone leading others to the jungle to commit mass suicide. Kool-Aid was the means.
Well, you did make an allegory to wanting to create some sort of individualized sub-society for this. It's one of your Patreon videos. Funny how you don't include small clips from your Patreon videos at the end of these anymore. There I go, though, you know, noticing things again.
Jim Jones chose to administer the poison, and therefore you will be administering Kool-Aid to all those foolish enough to listen to you. Therefore, I am entitled to put a post on your page saying, keep drinking the Kool-Aid. Are you?
Actually, I'm not encouraging people continue to drink the Kool-Aid. I'm actually encouraging people to move away from this shit and to find a better person to look up to as far as somebody they want to look at in idolatry, somebody they want to look up to as an actually knowledgeable philosopher, not some weird scrawny dipshit on the internet that's just trying to take advantage of them for their money. Somebody that's knowledgeable enough about how these varying things we're discussing here function, so that he can use it as a vehicle that's weaponized against any actualization, but totally geared toward financial gain. And then he's going to shit on me about, well, how am I supposed to be able to make this work if I can't even work? You want me out on the street? Well, hey, I thought professional television actors made a lot of money. Instead of people that clearly make pretty poor financial decisions and resort to this shit on the internet.
You serious? I don't believe it. Thousands and thousands of times, the Confederacy of Dunces comes forward to prove to the world what dunces look like.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, then I need somebody to tailor me an all-black Confederate soldier outfit that has the patch Confederacy of Dunces on there, so then I can just wear that throughout these videos then, you know? And I don't know how well a big conical hat out here where I'm living would go. I mean, too many people wearing those out here, especially the kind that, you know, have the eye holes cut in them. I tend to stay the fuck away from those people. Every single time they congregate, somebody's out there burning a cross. Ugh. You know, 2018, the fact that shit's still kicking around really makes you wonder who took a shit in whose gene pool.
People without a single creative bone in their body. If they're not committing the Kool-Aid fallacy, then they'll no doubt fall foul of the fag fallacy. The fag fallacy goes like this.
You look like a tremendous faggot with no sense of style and you lacking of eyebrows. Let me sum it up for you.
You sound or look like a fag.
You do.
And therefore, everything you say is false and wrong.
No, not really. You just look like a fucking fag. You look like an idiot. You look like somebody who's trying so hard to show the world that they're edgy, that you've exceeded actually showing the world that you're edgy and showing the world that you're just a pathetic try-hard. I mean, the thought process that has to go behind your style is unbelievable, and that's coming from me. Okay? You're waking up every morning to make sure that your fucking face is just as bald as a baby's bare ass. And then you're making the conscious decision to have your fucking liquid white hair straightened down and your mascara smeared all over your fucking eyes haphazardly to go stand in front of a camera with two bright-ass lights in front of it to go extol fake knowledge about nebulous theories on science, mathematics, philosophy, religion. It's the fact that the thought process to even engage in that exists before this, which I say is complete and total faggotry. Minimizing the argument to saying, oh, you look like a fag, is ludicrous. And it's intellectually dishonest, which is another big criticism I have of you. Your sheer and total intellectual dishonesty. To blow the actual argumentations out of the water, to fuck them off and ignore them entirely, and I'm supposed to give you an ounce of credibility? No, I'm not. At that point, I'll just continue to call you a fucking tremendous, irritating fucking faggot. Because you're acting exactly like one. Now, why do I think that's an acceptable word to use? Since a lot of people are going to say it's homophobic, guess what? Meant something different at a different time. Now, you could say that about the N-word as well. No, I'm not going to run around the world and call people nigger. Because obviously that's stupid, fucked up, and wrong, and there's a shitload of racist connotation behind it. But guess what? A lot of gay people, and I know plenty, call people faggots when they're being stupid, ridiculous, obnoxious fucking faggots. If this guy can't fucking thicken his skin a little bit and deal with it because I can't find any other term that's harsh enough to describe this annoying fucking faggot, then that's his fault for being a fucking weak pussy. You should have understood you were going to face criticism from people, especially harsh criticism, when you brought to the masses an organization that functions exactly the way a lot of observed cults have functioned, with the presentation of the Heaven's Gate cult practically. You mean you didn't really think people were going to be like, huh, well, I guess it's just time to forget about good old Doe and Marshall Applewhite, did you? Especially coming from somebody that's in his 30s and actually remembers that shit. Or at least remembers the news stories about it where they stole the Green Bay Packers logo and then castrated themselves and wore Nikes. I wonder if they'd worn Adidas. Would Adidas have run with it as some kind of fucked up, bizarre product placement? Anyway, let's move along.
How unevolved do you have to be to use the word fag as an insult? This world is filled with...
I don't know. I'd like to know how unevolved people are out there that use the word fag as a compliment. Hey, fag, how's it going? Not too bad, you cock-swallowing, cum-covered faggot. What? I mean, hell, I know you live near Venice Beach and shit, but come on, I don't think things have become that calm down there.
Uneducated, homophobic clones.
Oh yeah, I'm the homophobe. I was a theater student most of my academic life. I had more gay friends than Liberace. I'm the homophobe. Saying that I'm a homophobe, by the way, shows that you know nothing about me. At all.
The planet has turned into an idiocracy. In the movie Idiocracy, a doctor says, you talk like a fag, and your shit's all retarded.
Well, at least you have a somewhat decent taste in film. There, you got a compliment out of me.
In that movie, education is associated with fags.
In that movie, the reason why education is in the toilet is something genetically happened to human beings to lower the bell curve of their overall intelligence quotient over the course of decades. If you've never seen the movie, it's about a guy, I think it's Luke Wilson, who goes and signs up for a cryo-freezing experiment and ends up getting locked in the cryo chamber and then forgotten about. Then, as a result of a literal garbage avalanche, wakes up about 200 years in the future. And if you've ever seen the movie Wall-E, where it's all just trash heaps on Earth, that's pretty much Earth's future, and everyone that's left on Earth is a simpering retard because something happened to us genetically to dump our IQs into the toilet. You can compare the current state of social affairs all you want to Idiocracy, but things aren't that bad yet. But you got a decent taste in movies, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't mind living in a future where a crazy Terry Crews is president. It couldn't be much weirder than what we've had so far for the last several presidents.
So, to be intellectual is to be a fag, and also to be wrong.
The problem is, you're just a fag. You're not an intellectual. You're some weird spooky ghoul on the internet that comes up, and I'm not trying to even want to use the word ghoul because that's an insult to my favorite band, Ghost, almost. But you're some ghoulish looking fucker on the internet that doesn't even provide the work he needs to engage in to get to the answers and the conclusions that he just pushes forth. You know, somebody that's intellectual will actually go to the length of showing you how they came to the conclusions they espouse, not just give you the conclusions and say, there, that's it. That's not intellectual. That's just saying things.
Even though it's recognized that they're better educated. This is
well, recognized or not, what is your academic background now that we're here? My academic background is that I worked as a certified electrical maintenance engineer for half a decade. And I had to have functioning knowledge of all different types of mathematics and all different types of electrical sciences. Otherwise, I couldn't facilitate my job, and I could have fucking killed myself on accident working with systems that pump juice all the way up to like 250,000 volts to power half a city's power grid. What's your background? I studied behavioral sciences. I studied psychology. I especially liked behavioral psychology when I attended UNLV. Where did you go to school? It may be established that you're more intellectual than other people, but that establishment means fucking nothing if you have nothing to show for it, you stupid fuck.
The exact way in which Donald Trump's supporters think.
Okay, now we're on Donald Trump. What does that have to do with anything? Attack the right wing because it's an appeal to authority? Because a lot of the people that are in your group happen to be of a leftist mindset and then have a diametrically oppositional political view towards Donald Trump? So I guess at this point, I actually do need to get a MAGA hat so I can wear it in these videos. So then I can appeal to authority as well and be this ludicrous stereotype that you want to label all Donald Trump supporters as. You know, some people might support Donald Trump just because he's president, not because they agree with all of his political movements in the world, bowelish as they can be at times.
They all suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Oh, here we go. I want to suffer from the Freddy Krueger effect. In the sense that I would like to be in a Freddy Krueger movie, not suffer a death at the hands of a fictional horror movie villain.
And they imagine themselves to be intellectually superior to those that are actually better educated.
Really? That's what you think is going on. I just want to be smart as Morg. No, I don't. And in a million years, I wouldn't want to be as dumb as you. I'm not stating anywhere that I'm intellectually superior to you or to anyone. I know what I'm knowledgeable about, and I'm knowledgeable as hell in it. And I know how to spot a bullshitter from a mile away. There are so many other things in this life and in this world that I am not knowledgeable on. I don't know how to perform a brain surgery. I don't even know how to change out the posi traction in a fucking Plymouth. But I can tell you this. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to mathematics. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to a varying amount of sciences. I know my way around physics pretty well. And what I do know is that when you're trying to make broad statements about how everything in the universe is broken down to sine and cosine waves, you have to show me, in order for me to take you seriously, how the fuck you came to that conclusion by showing me your mathematical formulas, not just saying Euler's formula, the Thole equation, is the end-all be-all of all mathematics, because when you know what Euler's equation is actually for, and you've used it many times yourself, working as an engineer, you sound like a fucking idiot. Dunning-Kruger effect. It doesn't sound like it's something that applies to me. It sounds like it applies to you. It sounds like your intellectual dishonesty is more like intellectual jealousy. That instead of actually academically pushing yourself to be where you want to claim you are, or where you'd like to be, because that takes actual effort and work, you just stole the title anyway and ran with it. Because you just couldn't handle the reality that you might actually be kind of stupid.
Backwards world that automatically assumes.
By the way I'm responding to this video and the way that he's doing his, I am creating like a vortex of snark and smarmy. I know. If there's any more smarminess in this equation, it's probably going to rip the fabric of the universe open with a black hole of smug and just suck everything in. Oh, if that happens, I'm sorry.
That you're wrong if you're a homosexual or wear makeup or challenge their conservative, old, tired views in any way.
Conservatism has jack shit to do with what people are directing towards you, but that's nice. And homosexuality, Oh, yeah, that's right, because I call this guy a giant fucking faggot for being one.
Another classic fallacy is the money fallacy. According to this fallacy, if any kind of financial motive can be ascribed to anyone, whatever that person says is immediately discredited. This fallacy is never applied to anyone approved of by the sort of person that invokes the fallacy. No one says that the late Stephen Hawking was doing it for the money, or the evangelist Billy Graham, or the...
First off, anybody who doesn't think that Billy Graham was in it for the money is a fucking idiot of the highest order. There are Christians all over the fucking globe who watched this guy go to fucking prison for tax fraud and for ripping his parishioners off to the tune of literally millions. It's not like I live near the Bible Belt, the side of the country he tried to build his Christ Disneyland in back in the 70s and 80s. And they all think he is a piece of shit for still ripping off feeble old people who don't know any better to sell them big buckets of creamed corn and big buckets of warm, satisfying, belly-filling, steaming bullshit. There's an image I'm not going to get out of my head easily. Ugh. Imagine shoveling mouthfuls of that down. As for people like Stephen Hawking, and as for your overall argument, yeah, there are certain people I am okay with making financial gain off what it is they do in their varying business endeavors, because there is sort of an honesty with it. Stephen Hawking made a lot of money selling his books about philosophy and about science. But Stephen Hawking also knew what the fuck he was talking about, because he was Stephen fucking Hawking, an accredited quantum mathematician, a fucking genius. A guy who, though a lot of his theories ended up being proven not so much incorrect, but more unrealized in their full potential, still knew a hell of a lot more about what he was talking about than you was, and changed people's perceptions about science, mathematics, astrophysics in ways that nobody before him could have even imagined. Do you really think that people are going to put you on that pedestal? Is that where you would like to be? Is that the chair that you would like to sit in with all the other intellectuals? You want to sit next to Michio Kaku? You want to sit next to, what is his name, Tyson? Well, you're not going to. Because you're a fucking idiot.
Pope. Nor is it
Pope, I guess.
it applied to the likes of Steve Jobs, who was a predatory capitalist.
And I agree. Fuck, we agree on something, that Steve Jobs was an exploitive piece of shit. Not everyone that makes a lot of capital is supported by people like me because they make capital. Steve Jobs was a piece of shit that exploited sweatshops in order to sell his little eye devices. In doing so, he put people into horrible conditions of working, where some people actually died on assembly lines making iPods and iPhones because there were no regulations towards the work hours they had. They got no bathroom breaks. They're wearing diapers, sitting there making your phone. And if they stopped working, they'd be berated, beaten, and just fired with nothing. Because Steve Jobs was okay with that, because you can't lead a corporation that utilizes that as a manufacturing premise, he can fuck himself. And I hope he suffered in his cancer, and I hope that, in the words of George Carlin, Steve Jobs is down there screaming up at us because he's an exploitive piece of shit.
And absolutely doing it for the money. No, it's applied only to people who patently aren't wealthy. The people who...
You know, I thought people that were professional television actors, and I'll say it again, made a lot of money. Not a bunch of jackasses who thought there was somehow a market in jamming a sword down your throat and deep-throating an Excalibur and sticking hooks and knives into your fucking nasal passages and stuff. Did it pan out well for you? No. You're not Chris Angel.
use this fallacy literally say, he wants your money and therefore he's lying to you and trying to exploit you and manipulate you.
Yeah, that's essentially what I'm saying. If you want to minimize things down, you're utilizing certain psychological techniques in a lot of your videos to get people into watching your videos en masse, because at that point in their life where they're young and they're looking for people to validate their nihilistic worldview, they're willing to accept anybody at an idolatrous level as somebody to look up to. So there you come in. Right then, you've got them hook, line, and sinker. Then you ask for money for them or from them in order for them to further the knowledge that they get from Hyperianism. And by paying into it more and more and more and more, you've created a nice little scam for yourself. Am I supposed to be okay with that? No, because at that point, a lot of these people deserve so much better than that. They don't deserve to be whittling away in their lives to make money to give to you because you don't want to get off your scrawny, pasty, bony, heroin addict looking ass and get a real job. If it's so damn difficult for you to survive, why the hell are you living in a fucking part of California where the average income bracket is about $250,000 to $350,000 a year? And you seem to be living pretty comfortably. You're able to sit on your ass all day and do this shit while the rest of us have to work. I think it comes from the fact that once people take into consideration the effort it takes to single-handedly, as far as I can tell, I might be wrong and I'm willing to accept that I'm wrong, but as far as it's appeared, you seem to single-handedly facilitate this organization. People can rationalize from that point that you have a pretty cushy life and you don't really need $5,000 per video coming into your Patreon every month. It just seems a little disingenuous. Kind of like the preachers out there who say they need another private jet because God said so. Or people that go and build giant megachurches in absolute opulence, like you need a personal Vatican for your tiny podunk town because God said so. It's just they want big, important, rich-looking digs because human beings at their core are fucking greedy. They're selfish. They're egotistical. And in a lot of cases, when people have that satiated, their inner narcissism comes out. And when people talk with their hands, they bash the shit out of their microphone. As if they're Italian, you know, and they can't stop talking with their hands. Like a lot of my fucking relatives. At least on my mom's side of the family.
They never say it about Steve Jobs and his billionaire friends, the Donald Trumps of the world, who are self-evidently obsessed with wealth.
Actually, I think the fucking rich elite upper class can fuck itself. I'm really sick and tired of their infatuation with being a bunch of financial, self-filleting world eaters, essentially. I hate these bastards. These people sit in the king's throne of power in the world, and all they do is finance on both sides every major war that happens, both the good side and the bad side, essentially breaking down the idea that anything is really allied or enemied. Fuck people like that. I'm sick and tired of the corporate influence in government right now where it's like the United States government sponsored by Coca-Cola. Fuck that shit. What do you think? That people that are your detractors are unanimously okay with that? No, I think that's disgusting. I think that needs to go. You know, one of the reasons I thought Donald Trump would have been an interesting candidate for president is due to his previous life being one of these corporate elite dipshits. He's a total shark as far as that's concerned. He's a fucking manipulative cunt when it comes to working as a businessman. And because of that, I figured he'd get a lot of these crooked pieces of shit that would be out to shark him out of the presidency, out of his way. And that's kind of what he did, a little bit. I'd also thought it was interesting to see what would happen as a person who was more civilian than a lot of the Ivy League, same fucking apple off the same fucking tree types, regardless of political party, people that we'd had as candidates previously. And people like Obama, Hillary, Bernie, all these people have gone to the same schools. They'd gone to the exact same lifestyles as everybody else. And here you have somebody that could finally sit in there and go, wow, you know what? As somebody who had no experience with this before, things really are fucked. As opposed to have the same Order 66 style plans as everybody else. Wishful thinking. And let's not forget that you still got to boil down to the same lesser of two evils every damn election. So even if you don't want the son of a bitch to win, they're going to win. More than likely. Because you got to pick between two different flavors of assholery. So there's the political spiel for this video. What that has to do with any of this, I don't know. You still haven't addressed a single criticism people have addressed towards you.
And power and the luxury that it brings. No, the money fallacy is never directed at the rich.
Actually, fuck the rich. Again, because I come from a kind of a unique background where I've had a foot into both worlds of both poverty and wealth. And I can tell you, the only life that's really worth it is kind of making it work out for yourself into being a happy medium where you can afford the things that you want, afford the things that you need, and afford to do with your life what you want to do. There's shittiness and extreme poverty. There's shittiness and extreme wealth. Now, a lot of people would like to think that there's just a big disparity that sits in the middle. No. Working to the point where you can successfully afford what you want to do with your life, that's the goal. I don't want to sit in a fucking 200 billion room fucking mansion on a beachfront somewhere. Yeah, sure, it would be nice, but you know what? The novelty burned itself out all over my youth. I had more fun hanging around my parents who didn't have as much, pretty much had nothing from time to time, struggled to make ends meet, than I did being around a whole bunch of opulent, wealthy dipshits. Anytime. Anytime. Because it was a more realistic way to live. Again, let me reference the fact that you live in an income area of about $350,000 a year. In California. You have to be already doing well to survive out there. The housing market is so fucked in California, you're going to pay $2.4 million for a fucking shack with a hole in the roof. All from the comforts of being able to sit on your ass and do this for a living. I think people at that point have a right to judge what it is your financial interest is with this philosophy. Because you don't get any answers out of it, but you do get a big hole in your pocket. Kind of like Scientology.
Whom it would actually cease to be fallacious, but only at those who aren't rich. It's always used by supporters of right-wing predatory capitalism.
Oh yeah, because extreme leftist people aren't obsessed with wealth. Hillary Clinton's foundation wasn't absolutely, psychotically, monastically obsessed with wealth. It's always the right wing. Could you learn something about political people before making any statements about political parties, please, in the future, so you sound a little less turbo-retarded?
Against non-predatory capitalists, which is pretty ironic. Another fallacy is the all...
So basically, you're saying that you're the only type of person in the world that's going to utilize your money in the right way, and everybody else is doing it the wrong way? What kind of holier than thou bullshit is that? Christ, this is a terrifying image. Wow. Look at that shit. I mean... what the fuck, man? I mean, that kind of, like, self-dick sucking is unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. Well, you know what? I can't prove to you that I'm not just totally ripping people off, so you'll have to take my word for it. It's in people's interest to say that I am. Not the fact that I'm able to produce this content at a steady pace, all from the comforts of my home, while not observably having a real job. And I'm not going to consider sticking hooks into your face to be a real job. I mean actually getting out there, getting your hands dirty, doing a real day's work. They don't have a right to criticize me. I'm only taking in $5,000 a month. I'm not taking in $5,000 a month. I wish I was. So do a lot of people out there. When you can't provide them with anything real from this, you can't really provide rationally thinking people any incentive to want to give you their money. So from the outside looking in, you do appear to be somebody that's taking advantage of people that don't have a whole lot of bread in ways that ensure their satisfaction from giving you money to just make money off them, which is exactly what Scientology did in a way. Because once people get into certain tiers of Scientology, they're financially indebted to stay because they've already put so much money in. It would have been a waste of their life then to get out. And some of these people pay you a significant amount of money, especially for young people that don't generally make a whole lot. Because, hey, when I was that age, guess what? The most meaningful job I had was being a low-end manager at a movie theater. Oh, yeah, sure, I'm going to waste my paychecks of about $250 per week, because fuck Regal back in the day, on this shit? I don't think so. I think at that point, if my whole life was revolving around this shit and I was giving somebody money, they'd have a right to say, I think you're getting ripped off.
Knowledge is free fallacy. So people have no problem paying for a Starbucks coffee, or a Game of Thrones DVD, or a smartphone, a PlayStation, a Big Mac, or a beer, or a night at the club, or a concert ticket, or whatever. But people of knowledge aren't to be paid.
Yeah, because these two things well, these two extant entities are completely different from one another. Material, physical things and knowledge are two completely different. Okay, it takes knowledge to create physical things, such as the knowledge to brew a beer, the knowledge to make a Big Mac that actually is burger meat in it, not whatever that pink nasty shit that's industrial processed pig fat is. It takes knowledge to actually engineer a PlayStation from the start of the manufacturing process to the finish. What I don't like is knowledge being hidden behind paywalls. If we're going to talk about this from a strictly education system and academic system point of view, I think it's ridiculous that people in this country have to pay draconian sums of money, such as $90,000 in tuition plus in some cases, to get knowledge that would be beneficial to them in a career path later on in life. And I think that there aren't any real educators of merit out there that can provide me a solid argument as to why that's justifiable, why they think it's okay that somebody tries to get a degree in something and winds up eventually fucking bankrupt, paying off their student debts for the rest of their life. I think that's ridiculous. Now, if we're talking about your knowledge being hidden behind a paywall, I think that you're utilizing it for the purposes of somebody continuing to buy more knowledge forever. It's an insurance way. It works as a way to ensure that there's always going to be money rolling in for this Hyperionism shit forever. And I'm going to try to calm down a little bit, because the more emotional I get about these things from time to time, the less I start to make sense, and the more I begin to ramble and just curse. I'm trying to stay a little bit more level-headed today.
No, they must work for free and produce knowledge while being destitute.
I actually have a meaningful employment. I actually do bust my ass to make some bread at the end of the day. And then I do this as a hobby. I've produced all kinds of content without being paid to produce that content. I produced music for years for free. For 8 years, until for a few I was on a partnership network on YouTube. I produced content in a video format for free. I've produced all kinds of things for free because I just didn't expect people to throw money at me for it, because I didn't want that. That wasn't what I was going for. I also taught people how to do these various things for free. I've taught people how to do different things with music production for free, how to do different things with video production for free. You don't have to just make money constantly and then whine when people see you doing that, because you're doing it in a way that looks like you're ripping people off.
Of course, the people who invoke this fallacy never apply it to themselves.
No, because am I giving people knowledge for a price? No, I'm not, because I don't think that's required. Now, that said, I'm going to be starting a Patreon soon, so people can help me in being able to afford what I need to facilitate various projects that I'll be working on in the future, if they want to. That's their choice. I don't need the money 100%. It just makes it easier for me to produce content that they would like to see me produce, that I would enjoy producing, if I didn't have to bust my ass and break my knuckles all the way down to the bone working to afford what's necessary to create that content. You, on the other hand, as I've said already, seem to just produce this content you're making from the joys and comforts of your own home, where you can sit on your ass all day and make this without having to work too hard to get $5,000 a month in Patreon. There's a big difference in genuosity, in genuinely needing the help. It doesn't really look like you actually need the help. It doesn't really look like you're struggling to survive. I don't want to have to do it, but it's actually applicable here. For years, I used to make videos on this particularly stupid piece of shit who recently scammed all of his Patreon followers by saying, I need money to survive, from the comforts of a 5-bedroom, literal mansion house that cost over $900,000 on the housing market. A house so big that it featured a 5-car garage with an upstairs apartment to live in. It's a little hard to take seriously someone who says they're struggling to survive, who lives in the same kind of digs that an actual millionaire can afford, while still being a millionaire to boot. So it's a little hard for me to take someone seriously who's able to live where it is you live, apparently, and the income bracket that you live in, when the only way you'd be able to do so is being able to do financially well. Just a little odd.
They never produce any knowledge, and they're the first to complain if anyone asks them to work for nothing.
You don't just produce knowledge. Knowledge is already there. You help educate people on that knowledge. Knowledge is not something you pull out of your ass and make up on the spot. Well, maybe for you it is, because that seems to be the core of your philosophy. A whole bunch of shit you pulled out of your ass and made up on the spot. And cribbed from a lot of Mike Hockney's books, of which I've read a lot, of which contain so many parallels to your own philosophy that it almost seems like the rotating 3 authors thing that go on with his books is just a way for you to hide the fact that you and him might be the same person, because that's more stupid, edgy shock value shit that sounds like something you would do. So it just sounds like it didn't gain any traction with intellectuals there, and you came to YouTube with this crap to try a different approach. You know, it's interesting. They say the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result. You should take heed.
Even though they expect others to work for nothing. They do nothing for the cause of knowledge and actively undermine it by trolling knowledge producers.
Yeah, I troll idiots on the internet that say they're experts in the field of physics and science, because they're not. They're just morons who want people's money, and morons that try far too hard to be taken seriously, and morons that go to the extent of manipulating people into taking them seriously who honestly don't know any better. And I'll never stop trolling people like that, because it's fun. Because guys like you don't like when people get in on what it is they're really about and get all butthurt, all ass blasted, and then you do this shit in response. And it's fucking glorious.
Most of them are anarchists and hate the idea of a healthy society.
Get that? I'm an anarchist. The guy who thinks Anarchy Ball is a fucking ridiculous YouTube channel that needs to stop producing content because it's so cringy and stupid I can't stand to hear any bit of it. The person that thinks we need to do more to make sure that our society is structured properly. I'm the anarchist. I'm the one out there that owns the anarchist's cookbook who would go take to the streets with a Molotov cocktail and an AK-47 and say, "Fuck the system, motherfuckers." Right. So you don't like when people label you a cultist, but it's okay for you to label people whatever the fuck you want because you want to put them into their own little stereotype, blanketed, boxed in, tiny little molds. Fuck you. Doesn't work both ways. You can't have your cake, fuck it, and eat it too. Anyway,
society. If people value knowledge, why would they pay nothing for it?
why should colleges charge people insane amounts of money to put them in debt for the rest of their life so they can't functionally utilize the knowledge they gained in their academic study for anything? Also, why should people pay you for knowledge? What makes yours so great that they need to end up giving you $5,000 a month in earnings to facilitate the production of this knowledge? It should be a simple question, one that an intellectual such as yourself could have foreseen and would have included in this video. Ain't there?
Yet happily pay for things that they claim to have much less value.
Because the only way you'll be able to produce more material content in this world, such as a beer or a Big Mac or a cup of coffee, or even concert tickets, which help actually support the musicians and the bands that play the concerts. You know, I'm sorry, but we're starving artists too, motherfucker. It's vastly different than paying somebody to tell you a big bunch of bullshit. There's actually a value in it. You need to study something about economics to determine what value is.
They have the most bizarre attitude towards knowledge and those that create it.
Oh, yeah, sure. The person that has a background in electrical maintenance engineering and had to study and get certifications out the ass to work as an electrical maintenance engineer. The person that has a background in study of the fields of psychology, specializing in behavioral sciences, behavioral psychology, sociology. Yeah, I just hate knowledge. I hate the big dent in my pocket that it fucking gave me to try to understand these varying disciplines. But yes, I hate knowledge. I hate learning more about science. I hate learning more about math. I'll rue the day I ever came up against the person without eyebrows. You know, I'll go back to my earlier example of pounding one's head into the wall, wondering why it hurts. It just sounds like a fun activity right now because I'd rather be pounding my head into the wall, turning myself into a fucking spastic, than really have to listen to another second of this self-unaware, straw-manning, I'm not going to even pay attention to your real criticisms, bullshit argumentation. I think this guy's just mad that I've dumped his video views down on YouTube to about like 1,000 views. You know what's amazing? This guy has like 61,000 subscribers on YouTube, and his metrics are so fucked now. Mostly because of my responses and others, that his video views are barely getting to about 1,000 or 2,000 views in a week. That's unbelievable. I love being me some days. I really do.
They believe that it should be done for free, for the benefit of the human race, even though it's never been done for free in history.
Yeah, actually, there are plenty of people that did teaching for free. My grandfather was an educator for 35 years, and when he retired from teaching, I went into different chartered school programs for a while, not permanently, and he taught me for free, didn't charge me shit. There are plenty of education systems out there to assist people that need the benefit of an adult education program that are free to go to. There are free tuition programs for people to get GEDs all over the place. The fuck are you talking about? There are many societies in history that believed knowledge was a right, not a privilege. Do you think that private school is all that has ever been? The difference between public and private education, at least in this country, was that public education was provided for free because private education wouldn't have been available to people that are in the backwoods, podunk, middle of nowhere fuckvilles, basically. The fucking Appalachian, hey, how you doing, villes. When the Industrial Revolution came along, because more industrialized jobs meant these people needed to get the fuck out of the backwoods and actually be contributing people to society because that's how they would have been able to survive. They needed to be brought up to the most basic level of education required to facilitate even the most basic of jobs in these kind of fields, you know, like factory working, industrial working, that sort of thing, and actually be able to bring in some bread to actually create an economy in their little shackvilles nowhere. But I mean, what do you want me to do? Go into the whole history of public education? The fact is, public education in this country is provided as that kind of a service. My family never had to pay anything to put me in school for a while before I got put into private schools. The only time they had to pay for knowledge was when they put me into those schools intentionally. So fuck off. This example is total bullshit. I don't even know where you get this idea, are you like Ben Stiller's character from Heavyweights? Having been educated entirely by private tutors my whole life, I'm looking forward to interacting with children for the first time. You know, some character from some movie, huh?
Did Stephen Hawking produce knowledge for nothing? Did Einstein? No, not for a second. These were extremely well-paid scientists. So why is the all knowledge is free fallacy not applied to them? And
well, because for one, both are dead, and I don't think if they were alive, they'd appreciate this goofy shithead speaking for them.
Everyone else paid for by the government to produce knowledge. No, this fallacy is only ever directed at those not getting paid by the government, those producing knowledge independently of the system and the man.
Do you know at all how economics in this country works? The fact that you're accepting donated money through Patreon in unadjusted, unfettered, untouched American dollar notes is accepting money from the man, because it's accepting money through the treasury, you dipshit. So no matter what you do, you are accepting money from the government. It's why you have to file taxes every year. Otherwise, if you don't represent the money that you utilized in a particular tax year, it can be considered stealing from the government. I'm the one with Dunning-Kruger effect, though. Welcome to Primetime, bitch.
You would think that these heroes would be extremely valued for their independence from government propaganda.
You are in love with yourself. So you think you're a hero for charging people to pay you about $5,000 a month in accumulated donation because it's independent of the mainstream academic system. See, when you subscribe to mainstream academia, you're just an idolater, whatever the fuck this guy would say. No, you're not doing anything heroic. A guy that runs into a burning building to save somebody's family from turning into fucking Thanksgiving dinner is heroic. You're just some dipshit with a scam and an ability to manipulate people into still paying you to fund that scam. That ain't heroic.
Groupthink. But nope, not for a second. Their motives are constantly contested by the legions of conformists through the...
Oh yeah, I'm the conformist, the one that's not thinking in the exact same fashion as every single person involved in your group. Interesting, because that's another tactic that cult leaders like to use. The person on the outside is the crazy one. The person telling you to think exactly like everyone else around you is the rational one. Right. No, people question your financial motives because, and I will state this again, they see someone who has a congregation of people that don't have the functioning and vast knowledge of science, mathematics, physics, and quantum theory and philosophy as you do, giving you money to learn more about your knowledge of these disciplines because they're being controlled into paying for more knowledge. They think that there's some ultimate answer that they'll end up getting to at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the rabbit hole. So to get to the end of that rabbit hole, they keep throwing more money at each checkpoint in that rabbit hole. But there's never any end. It's just more bullshit. Buy this other book I've written. Buy this other video I have on this subject. Buy this video I have on this subject. Dude, at some point, people are going to question that, no matter what. Because that's disingenuous. That's not what college does. That's not even what high school does. That's what somebody who is throwing bullshit in your face and saying, but this other bullshit over here will give you even more knowledge, so you should pay just a little bit extra for that, and it'll be just a little bit more icing on the cake. It's a scam. Is what it is. You're just scamming people with the idea that you've got some important shit to say, when in reality, You can say that people like myself are unoriginal. Everybody has seen this before, and it's played out exactly the same before, and you're the unoriginal one.
Money fallacy, the knowledge heroes are denounced for needing money to live.
Knowledge man!
And through the all knowledge is free fallacy, it's claimed that anyone engaged in producing knowledge should never be paid under any circumstances.
That's not even remotely what my argument is. I don't think you should be paid because you're a scammer, but I do think that there should be some kind of financial, some sort of financial benefit towards people that are professional educators. I just don't feel that $90,000 per student is fair, no matter what your credit hours are. I think that colleges are institutions in this country that scam people far too much money than the knowledge they give you is worth. Unless you're going to like a medical school, something like an actual like ridiculously top tier career path, you don't need to be paying people for the rest of your life to learn any sort of much lower than that in severity for the knowledge kind of career. I don't think it's fair. Like, I know people that went to art schools that are like bankrupt because of how much fucking money they had to pay to go to like Art Institute. It's a fucking scam. So, sorry. I think that's unfair. Fuck me, I guess.
Plainly, the people who dredge up these ridiculous fallacies have total contempt for knowledge.
Oh yeah, I hate knowledge. Yeah, of course. Yeah, tell me how I feel. I love being told how I think by fucking tools like this. I love when somebody becomes so bankrupt for a retort, so bankrupt for a response. This is the fucking level they sink to. They just tell you what you think. They just tell you who you are. Because they're not even going to make an attempt to listen to what you're actually saying to actually find out. I love it.
If they actually valued knowledge, the knowledge producers would be the richest people on Earth.
So then it's not about financial gain, but it'd be totally cool if you were one of the richest people on Earth, so you didn't do what? Sit on your big pile of money like Scrooge McDuck and go, look at all these dumb, stupid motherfuckers I scammed into this. I mean, isn't that kind of what you're doing now?
Not the poorest. Not working for free in order to gratify those that have never produced a single particle of knowledge in their lives.
I've taught plenty of people how to produce music, which by no means is simple. And I haven't accepted a single penny for it.
Go on. All those that invoke the money fallacy and the all knowledge is free fallacy, put your money where your mouth is.
Why don't you put your money where your Botox is and actually show that you have some sort of integrity and credibility? If you did this for free, I might be able to take it a little bit more seriously because it doesn't look like you're ripping people off in a very clear scam. Integrity is something that you lack intellectually and financially, apparently. You can't even make an intellectually honest argument against somebody. You can't even begin to.
Start producing knowledge for free. Start living on nothing.
I have for a while, actually. Aside from my actual efforts of working outside of YouTube, I don't make money for this. I've never made money for this.
The reality is...
I take it back. I take it back, because that would be intellectually dishonest for me to say. There was a time for a while where I was on a partnership network. You guys remember the ads that were all over my videos? And I didn't mind. It was a little extra, about $20 a month. Woo, big wow. And then when the adpocalypse happened, that company went belly up, and well, I'm back to doing videos for free. And I'm not bitching about it. Because though it was neat, it's not really worth it. Because I can crank these out all day. I don't need to sit there and say that I need to survive and hold out my little tin can, for some shekels and Patreon. But that said, and as I stated before, I may am heavily considering now making a Patreon so that people can, if they want to, assist me in financing various music projects that I want to accomplish and assisting with the video projects that I do here on YouTube, because I do want to take them to a new level. It's difficult to make video content, and I can agree with that small point there. When you're having to work your fingers to the bone just to be able to do so. The fact of the matter is, I just don't want to rip people off and bullshit them and fill their head full of stupid, petty nonsense in order to get their money. I'd like them to be able to donate, to help out if they want to. Not feel that, oh, well, shit, you've been looking for a person like me to validate how you feel all your life. Now that you got some money into this, you're indebted to keep it coming. Otherwise, you won't be with the cool kids who are all like you.
Is that these people could never produce any knowledge. They don't have the intelligence.
Oh, it doesn't take much intelligence to reach far up your ass, with or without the rubber glove, and pull out a big hunk of shit and say, look at this motherfucking nugget. This is some real knowledge.
And they despise intelligence and the intelligent.
Yeah, I'd want the world to be full of fucking Alex Jones hardcore fans. That's a world I want to live in. I want them all to be homeless, dumb as a stump. What?
They despise knowledge and knowledge makers.
I despise any stupid greasy asshole that's going to tell me who I am and how I think.
And treat them with supreme contempt.
I do treat people that tell me who I am with supreme contempt because they're narcissistic, egotistical fuckwits who think they know everything and they can suck a fat one. Bitch.
They want them to be slaves, begging out on the street for handouts and
Well, I mean, it would be hilarious to see you doing that, and that's kind of where you're trying to martyr yourself. You're trying to say that you're a slave that has to beg out for handouts because you live in an income bracket of like $350,000 a year in a state that's already atrociously expensive to live in.
living in cardboard boxes because knowledge is free, so no one gets paid for producing it.
Oh, I'm sorry that you don't have any other skills to get a real job. I'm sorry that you wasted your life sticking nails up your nose and hooks into your face and deep-throating swords so that you couldn't actually offer something to the world. And I don't mean Hyperionism. This world is filled with opportunities for people to work. And you just don't want to do that. Now, you won't say that, but you just don't want to. Because if you did, you'd get off your lazy goddamn ass and stop whining. Fucking idiot.
The people who say such things exhibit the Dunning-Kruger effect to the utmost degree.
Then these types of people will also bleach their hair, grease it out, stretch it out, and cover their eyes in mascara and refuse to take a good look in the mirror about what they're saying because it directly applies to them. I'm sorry, you can't do the things that you're saying people like me do and throw them on people like me when we're not doing any of that. And you haven't once at all in this video addressed any criticism that's hit you at all.
They're delighted by the rich capitalist billionaires and never say a word against them.
Actually, I do all the time. I say fuck the rich. Fuck them. Fuck these elite pieces of shit that keep the world in constant strife because there's a benefit for them in doing so. Honestly, these people are the scum of the fucking earth, and I hope they all die of AIDS.
They don't say electricity should be free. They don't say TV or water or food or smartphones should be free.
Actually, I have before. If we could figure out a way to create infrastructures where these are services that are provided to us either free or for a drastically reduced fee, and there are ways to do so. There are ways of hydroelectrically producing energy electrically, so that we don't have to sit there and pay draconian power bills, especially during the summer months, or have so much of a reliance on nuclear energy. It'd be something we should do. We should try more solar energy and stuff, but no, we don't fucking try that shit because then it takes money away from the rich. Yeah, get fucked. When you don't listen to the arguments that are espoused by your detractors, you just pull fucking arguments you think they make out of their ass to go label them with, get out of here. You don't know how I think about any of this shit. You don't know what my opinions on any of it are. Like hell, I'm going to be told what they are by some fucking ugly faggot.
No, it's only knowledge that's singled out to be free.
Well, if that's all you think, then that's what it is, but the reality is starkly different.
And knowledge workers that have to work for nothing. I know that the trolls watching this are just itching to post a comment.
Not really. I was itching to scratch my balls because they itched.
That's right, I'm talking to you. But before you post, and I know your fingers are already eagerly poised over the keyboard, keep in mind that I leave your comments up as an example for all to see so that everyone can witness how dumb you really are.
I know. I've been getting a lot of subscribers from you leaving my comments up, and it's been great. I got about 200 comments, 200 new subs in the span of like a week and a half from doing these videos. I really love being me some days. Also, what I think is great is that how the YouTube algorithm works for when you make content on one user over another more often, you appear in the suggested channels option on the side of their YouTube channel. Guess who's sitting at the #1 slot on this, guys?
And the utter stupidity of humanity. Not only that,
So you want to enlighten humans because they're stupid? Does that include your followers too? So did you just like shit all over your followers?
but all your infantile comments alert the social networking algorithms that this is a popular post, ensuring that my posts and videos are seen by more people.
Yeah, I know.
So post away, you dumb fucks.
Well, it doesn't really work in your favor as much as it works in both of our favors. Yes, it alerts the algorithm on YouTube that your post is popular, and it does share your post to more people. However, the same goes for mine as well. 200 subscribers in 1.5 weeks. Now, that might be poxy compared to somebody that has 40,000 more subscribers than I do. But hey, for me, that's a huge net gain, and I like it! So I'm not going to really complain. If the algorithm on YouTube worked in only a one-way street fashion, you'd have a point. But it doesn't. And maybe if you'd done your research, an arduous task, I know, you'd have understood that. Dipshit.
As the narrator said in Idiocracy, the #1 movie was called Ass.
Huh. It looks like I'm watching it right now.
And that's all it was for 90 minutes.
Yeah, it seems like I've been watching it right now.
It won 8 Oscars that year, including Best Screenplay.
Well, congratulations. I'm glad. You know, an Oscar's a very hard award to get. I'm glad you might have some space on your mantle next to some of your fucking candles for an Oscar. 8 of them, too.
That's the same experience as reading most of the comments that I get on Facebook. Nothing but ass.
Well, you know, you shouldn't read your comments while looking into a mirror. Man, the delivery on that sucked. It's almost like I have a lacking sense of humor. But hey, at least your comments are filled with ass instead of piss and vomit and shit.
Up your game, trolls. At least try to be creative, trolls.
You're telling me to up my game. How sweet.
Tell funnier jokes, shave off your fucking eyebrows, or try working for free and produce knowledge for the good of humanity, you holier-than-thou fucks.
Okay. That's a challenge you should not have requested from moi. But I'll do it.
You're nothing but a cancer to this world.
Yeah, I know. That's why I post in 4chan's B every so often. Because I am just all about that cancer, though.
Soon to be extinct.
Everything on the face of this planet will be extinct one day. Big wow. What are you gonna come to my house and kill me? Over a YouTube video that points out you're a scamming cunt? Here I am. Come and get me.
My name is Morg, Herald of the Hyperion New World Order.
Well, at least I'm not so in love with myself that I have a title like that. Ah, boy.
Ad Astra, to the stars.
Ask for money.
Make sure that you like and subscribe and check out my Patreon for hidden videos.
Oh, God.
If you enjoy my videos, join us on Patreon.
I enjoy your videos, but not for the reasons you want me to.
That's how I'm able to continue my work. Now, I'd like to say thank you to everyone on Patreon. It's time we put an end to this idiocracy and usher in a new world.
Because that's not culty at all. Well, anyway, folks, I'm starving, and I really have fucking wasted too much time today on this shit, so I'm just going to end it right here, but I hope you enjoyed my video, and I would appreciate if you liked and subscribed to my channel, liked the video, subscribe to the channel, because unlike this dipshit, I'm not in it to rip you off. I like just to entertain people and hopefully enlighten them a little bit as to how not to be ripped off and what to look for in somebody that's a bucking, ugly, stupid, scrawny, greasy piece of shit that rips you off and says that me, a guy who's been doing this for over a decade, needs to up his game. Really? Up yours, bitch. Anyway, until next time, take it easy.